London's got a few iconic buildings, but it very almost had one more. Its story began in 1863 with the launch of the Metropolitan Railway between Paddington and Farringdon. It was a massive success, and with that success came calls to extend the line to reach new customers. So from the late 1860s onwards, they extended the line northwest from here at Baker Street out through what used to be rural land towards Harrow. Part of this rural land was a private estate, complete with a manor house, landscape lawns and woodland. Since it was green and located in Wembley, they called it Wembley Park. And since it was a private estate, there was no need for a station. At least not yet. Enter Sir Edward Watkin, the Metropolitan Railway's chairman and Liberal Unionist MP. He had an idea. London was smoggy and polluted. He'd sell them tickets to the countryside without having to take them that far from the city. And once the area became more popular, he'd build houses where land was cheaper, creating new homes and, importantly, new railway customers to fill them. To get started on his grand plan, he purchased 47 acres of land from the estate's owners and started work designing a destination for his visitors. His plan was to build a new park full of gardens, boating lakes, sports grounds and other attractions to lure people to Wembley Park. But there was an issue. Watkin needed something memorable, something impressive, to draw the kind of numbers that he wanted to the area. In 1889, over the Channel in Paris, there was a new structure taking the crowds by storm. Built as part of the Exposition Universelle, the Eiffel Tower was more than twice the height of anything in the UK at the time. Watkin exclaimed, "Anything Paris can do, London can do bigger," and opened a competition for a new, more impressive tower, which he dubbed the Great Tower for London. Entries included structures inspired by famous buildings around the world, including, but not limited to, a leaning Tower of Pisa, except not actually leaning and more than twice the height, a tower with gardens and the Vegetarian Society inside, topped with a scaled-down reproduction of the Great Pyramid of Giza, one just called Time is Money with a huge clock inside, a vertical village with businesses, flats, pubs, even a court, and one with the catchy title of Monument of Hieroglyphics, emblematical of British history during Queen Victoria's reign, Tower. Watkin wasn't that impressed, and actually invited the guy who designed the Eiffel Tower, Gustave Eiffel, to design it, but he declined, saying he'd be seen as a bad Frenchman if he did. The winning design looked, well, kind of like the Eiffel Tower, but taller, almost 50 metres taller, and with 4 levels rather than 3. It was going to have shops, restaurants, Turkish baths, a theatre, science labs, a whole lot, and was to be overseen by Benjamin Baker, who'd engineered the Forth Bridge in Scotland. Construction started in early 1891, and to the public, things looked promising. It rose to the already decent height of 155 foot, around 15 stories tall, and then stalled. See, the tower was expected to cost £200,000, but Watkin had raised only £87,000, 2/3 of that his own money. So when Wembley Park Station opened fully in 1894, people were greeted by lovely pleasure gardens and an increasingly abandoned construction site. This wasn't the biggest issue though. The ground the tower was built on was soft. This structure was massive and heavy, and to save on costs, the original design, which had 8 legs to help spread the weight, had been reduced to just 4 legs, meaning the weight was concentrated on specific points. Somewhat ironically, considering they'd chosen against building the Leaning Tower of Pisa, the structure started to sink. Not ideal. Construction officially stopped in 1898, and over the next couple of years, Watkin retired with ill health, and his tower company went into voluntary liquidation. There's an argument that its location outside of central London stopped investors from saving it, because the only one who benefited from it being here was the train company. Despite the tower not being finished, it was still a popular tourist attraction. It became known as Watkin's Folly, and people came just to see what could have been. Watkin died in 1901, and the tower was blown up. Demolished using dynamite from 1904 to 1907. Without the tower, the sports grounds became the focal point. When Wembley was selected to host the British Empire exhibition, the land was purchased from the Metropolitan Railway Company and a stadium was built. Nowadays, Wembley is unrecognisable. For just over a century there was no park in Wembley Park, with the green space removed to clear space for the exhibition, then covered in warehouses and car parks for the stadium. This year, just over 100 years on, a new park is opening. And towering over it, the Wembley Arch has become iconic in its own right. It's what they built to replace the old Wembley Stadium. But when they knocked the old one down, they rediscovered the foundations for the tower underneath its famous twin towers. The UK did eventually get a similar tower, this time in Blackpool. It's less than half the height of Watkins' planned tower, but 3 times taller than what was actually built, and to this day, it's not sunk. We'll never know what the area might have looked like today if Watkins' plan had been successful. But one thing's for sure, Wembley draws a lot more people than it used to.